Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. It keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Thank you for listening to the GSMC Music Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Gaelika Brown, the music lover constantly seeking positive music. You know the drill. If you like what you hear, subscribe to our show and write a review if you really like what you hear. Now let's get into some music news. Man, this has been a busy few weeks. Every weekend there has been a major event featuring music. The Golden Globes, the Grammys, the Super Bowl, and this past Sunday, the Oscars. Now, every now and again, the Oscars has some musical performances that are worth mentioning, like Janelle Monáe's opening to the Oscars. She enters into what looks like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, fumbles while she takes off her jacket and attempts to hang it on the coat hanger, but it falls, and she puts on her Mr. Rogers-esque sweater. It was kind of a rough and nervous start, but when she breaks into song singing Come Alive, the show comes alive. I'm sure not too many people recognize the Looney's I Got Five on it sample, but I did. Billy Porter joined her on the stage for a spectacular opening act. Cynthia Erivo commanded the stage with a solo performance of Stand Up from the film Harriet, looking super fly in a gold gown against her brown skin with that super popped collar. Later, a choir joined her. Billie Eilish performed a cover of The Beatles' Yesterday during the In Memoriam segment. Although it was reported that she would be singing her James Bond song. The biggest musical surprise of the night was Eminem. I know, right? Did he have a song nominated this year? No, but his 8 Mile anthem, Lose Yourself, won in 2003. He wasn't present then, but 18 years later, he certainly was present. He performed Lose Yourself and the audience lost themselves and gave him a standing ovation. It was a cool surprise, but I'm really not sure why it happened in 2020. Elton John took home the Oscar for Best Original Song for I'm Gonna Love Me Again from the Rocket Man soundtrack. He also performed the song earlier in the night with the full band. Now, Saturday night in West Hollywood had an electrical musical lineup, playing poolside to 350 partygoers who had gathered to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Morrison Hotel, released in 1970, the Doors' fifth record. Hosted by the Sunset Marquise Hotel, which had a massive Morrison Hotel album backdrop on its wall, and the Morrison Hotel Gallery. A slew of surprise performers paid tribute to the iconic band, including Miley Cyrus, Gary Clark Jr., The Struts, Eagles of death metal singer Jesse Hughes, Michael Bolton, and Dennis Quaid. They joined the Doors guitarist Robbie Krieger Robbie Krieger? Let's say Robbie Krieger. And the Tangers Blues Band for the 90-minute outdoor concert. Okay, so my apologies on not knowing the Doors guitarist how to pronounce his last name properly, nor the Tangers Blues Band, but obviously this was way before my time, and a genre of music that was not played in my household. But good news nonetheless. So last week I reported that rapper Snoop Dogg spoke out against reporter Gayle King. He is now addressing the backlash. On Saturday, Snoop took to Instagram to clarify that he wasn't looking for a fight with the CBS This Morning host. He says, "Here's a message for the people that need to know. I am a non-violent person. When I said what I said, I spoke for the people who felt like Gail was very disrespectful towards Kobe Bryant and his family. Now, with that being said, what I look like wanting some harm to come to a 70-year-old woman. She's not 70 yet. I think she's like 67, but close enough. I was raised way better than that. I don't want no harm to come to her, and I didn't threaten her. All I did was said, check it out. You out of pocket for what you doing, and we watching you. Have a little bit more respect for Vanessa, her babies, and Kobe Bryant's legacy. He insisted that he was only defending Bryant's legacy. So YouTube Premiere has a docuseries called Seasons, and in a recent episode featuring Justin Bieber and his wife Hailey, Hailey first explains that while she and Justin both agreed that they were in no rush to plan their wedding, they also agreed that being married was important before taking the next step. We wanted to move in together, and we didn't believe in doing that until we were married. So we got legally married. The pair got engaged in July 2018. Moving in together and living together and getting to share space with each other and just keep learning more and more about each other just took away all the pressure of the scary part of getting married. Hailey goes on to admit that being a bride and having her dad walk her down the aisle was something she always wanted, similar to what Justin also admits in an earlier episode of Seasons, which is partly why they still had a formal wedding. But Hailey also says they wanted to keep it small. Initial reports said that there were 154 guests. And they wanted to keep it small and limited to people who had been very super involved in their journey and are still a part of their day-to-day lives right now. That was a very smart and mature decision to get married before moving in. There has been a tremendous amount of growth that I've seen in Justin compared to years ago when he was always in the news for some foolishness. Now, John Frucinetti made his first appearance with the Red Hot Chili Peppers since he rejoined the band at the memorial event put on by the Tony Hawk Foundation. The jam session was in memory of billionaire Ronald Burkle's son, Andrew, who died last month at 26 years old and was an avid supporter of the nonprofit. Now, 4 spin-offs of the rapper 50 Cent's hit Starz series Power are in the works. Power Book 2, Ghost, Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Power Book 4, Influence, and Power Book 5, Force. The network announced the new shows and a teaser which aired during Sunday's series finale of Power. Now, Mary J. Blige and Method Man will star in Power Book 2, Ghost, which was announced last year and is set to debut this summer. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, centers around the upbringing of 50 Cent's drug dealer character Kanan Stark, who was killed in Season 5. Power Book 4, Influence, will explore the political world of Lorenz Tate's governor-to-be character, Rashad Tate, the 5th chapter. Power Book 5, Force, will focus on Tommy Egan's ghost partner in crime, who trades NYC for LA. Now, Power was my show. I used to get excited for what I called Power Sunday, viewing the show every Sunday when it came on in the summers. This is kind of unusual that they had this, like, the series finale in the winter, but also the series finale was very out of recipe, out of formula for how the rest of the series was. But I would get excited for Power Sunday. And every Sunday when it was on, my brother and I would watch it. However, I still haven't finished this final season. Like, my brother and I have not watched one episode together. I did see the very first one with my cousin. So I kind of cheated on my brother there. But I was like, they gave away way too much in that first episode as far as what happened to Ghost. So I'm like, well, now I know what happened to him. Why do I need to know the rest? Like, the rest is basically who killed Ghost. Like, was it Dallas who shot JR? They basically took that premise. And so I'm like, the first episode wasn't like intriguing enough for me to be like, oh, I gotta watch the next one. It was cool though that how they were gonna focus on a different character each episode, but really there was only certain characters that I really cared about. So anyways, these spin-offs sound pretty interesting and intriguing. And I mean, props to Curtis 50 Cent, you know, for producing this series, because it was a hit. It made stars. The network stars did not have the viewership that it had prior to. I mean, I watch Outlander, but I don't know too many people who watch Outlander. I never got into, was it Survivor's Remorse? I know that was a good series, but with that alone, like, Stars did not have the viewership until Power came. So that really gave 50 Cent like legitimacy as an producer, as an executive producer, and he pretty much can do whatever the hell he wants now on Stars, which is why he has these 5 spin-offs coming out, or 4 spin-offs. But if you count Power, basically he had 5 series based around the concept of power. So who got the juice? 50 got the juice. Who got the power? 50. So let's take a break and return with tour news and what's hot globally, as well as new releases.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Welcome back to the GSMC Music Podcast. I'm your host, Gaelika Brown. Now let's talk new album releases. Pop Smoke has Meet the Woo 2, The Cadillac 3, Country Fuzz, TRU and 2 Chainz, No Faces, No Case, Prince Royce, Alter Ego, and the Birds of Prey soundtrack, Hayley Williams, Petals for Armor 1, Petals for Armor 1, I think. Unless it's Petals for Armor I, but I'm pretty sure it's Petals for Armor 1. And Netflix Rhythm and Flow winner D Smoke, Black Habits. New singles, Yikes, Nicki Minaj, Loyal, Party Next Door featuring Drake and Bad Bunny, Believe, Meek Mill featuring Justin Timberlake, Drika, Kevin Gates. I know that's his wife's name because I just saw an interview with the two of them. Medusa featuring Jay Ortiz, Anuel AA and J Balvin. Intentions, Justin Bieber featuring Quavo. Know Your Worth, Khalid, and Disclosure. Now, Calvin Harris is using his Love Regenerator to drop 2 songs on Valentine's Day. Out this Friday, the 2-song EP Love Regenerator 2 will feature tracks called The Power of Love 2 and Regenerate Love. Harris is to return to Las Vegas Omani nightclub for a summer residency starting in April. The same month, he plays Coachella in Southern California. Now, Billboard Hot 100 list has Rowdy Rich the Box sitting at number 1 for 6 consecutive weeks. Features Life is Good featuring Drake spends its 4th consecutive week at number 2 on the Hot 100. Post Malone Circles is steady at number 3 after 3 non-consecutive weeks at number 1. Maroon 5's Memories holds at number 4 after reaching number 2. Tones and I's Dance Monkey climbs from 7 to 5 on the Hot 100, reaching the top 5 for the first time. Now, the song by Australian singer-songwriter, real name Tony Watson, previously became the longest leading number 1 in her homeland while topping multiple other global surveys, including the official UK singles chart, where it broke the record for the most times at number 1 by a female soloist. I have no idea why she is dressed like an old man in the music video. Without knowing anything about her, I would have assumed she was a he, just by purely watching and not listening to her voice. But the video is funny though. Funny and fun. So on to tours and festival news. Rage Against the Machine announced their global arena tour. They will head to Oakland Arena to play their first show since 2011 as part of a 7-month run that runs through September 12th in Vienna, Austria. Rap duo Run the Jewels join them for all headline dates, excluding Chicago, in support of their highly anticipated new album, RTJ4, out this spring. Now, Janet Jackson, Mr. Jackson if you're nasty, announced that she'll be hitting the road in 2020 for a new world tour in support of her forthcoming 12th studio album, Black Diamond. Her first leg of the worldwide jaunt will kick off June 24th at Miami's American Airlines Arena, with stops in 34 cities across North America, including New York City, Detroit, Dallas, Los Angeles, and Vancouver, before wrapping up August 23rd in Tacoma, Washington. The tour is also set to include headlining slots at New Orleans' Essence Festival and Cincinnati's Cincinnati Music Festival. Tickets go on sale to the public on Thursday, February 13th via Live Nation, with pre-sales for the tour beginning Tuesday, February 11th at 12 p.m. local time. While a release date for Black Diamond has yet to be announced, the album is expected to be released in 2020 via Jackson's Rhythm Nation imprint and BMG. Now, Girl Talk is known for his mashups, dating back to 2006 debut project Night Ripper, which included mashups of The Pixies with Timberland and Paul Wall with Paul McCartney. He played his last show in 2012, but is returning to the road. Girl Talk's triumphant 2020 comeback tour kicks off April 29th in Cleveland and runs through June 7th when it celebrates its final show with a festival set at the Governor's Ball in New York City. Underworld, the British electronic duo who shot to fame during the 1990s, will be touring North America for the first time in 5 years. The string of dates is in conjunction with the 40th anniversary when Rick Smith and Carl Hyde met for the first time as university students in Cardiff. Bombay Bicycle Club have announced new dates for their North American tour. While the English band was set to play across the Atlantic with Sports Team as support in April, they have just added a number of dates in June. They will kick off this next leg on June 1st at the Newport Music Hall in Columbus, Ohio, and will close the North American tour at the Corona Theater in Montreal on June 16th. Chris and Rich Robinson announced that they are reuniting. The Black Crowes duo have announced a slew of acoustic tour dates that they'll play under the Brothers of Feather moniker. Now on to the top 10 songs played in the United States according to Apple Music. Rowdy Rich's The Box is still number 1. Surprise! Future and Drake, Life is Good, been sitting number 2 for a while now. Number 3, Rowdy Rich reclaims his spot from Lil Wayne with High Fashion. Number 4, Mustard's Ballin' moves from number 5 to number 4 this week. Nicki Minaj hits the list at number 5 with Yikes. Something to Prove by Lil Baby was number 4, but is now number 6. Number 7, that new Justin Bieber featuring Quavo, Intentions. Number 8, Bop, the Baby still holding this spot down. Number 9, Jack Boy's Jack Start With Me by Rowdy Rich's spot with Out West. And number 10, Lil Wayne, I Do It featuring Big Sean and Lil Baby kicked Eminem's Godzilla out the top 10. Now let's compare that to the top 10 songs played globally according to Apple Music. Rowdy Rich, The Box, sits at number 1 in the US and global still. Future and Drake are still number 2. Number 3, Rowdy Rich, High Fashion. Number 4, Tones and I, Dance Monkey. Number 5, The Weeknd, Blinding Lights. Number 6, Justin Bieber, Intentions. Number 7, Justin Bieber again with Yummy. Number 8, Dua Lipa, Don't Start Now. Number 9, Mustard and Rowdy Rich Ballin'. And number 10, Eminem, Godzilla. So Eminem was kicked out the US list, but he's still global. Now, what have I been jamming? Honestly, I haven't had a chance to listen to much music. I've been rehearsing a play, and this weekend it debuted. We only did 2 shows on a Saturday, but I created a playlist for my character, Nikisha. Nikisha was the antagonist, and she was super hoish and ratchet. So I had a playlist full of Megan Thee Stallion, City Girls, Cardi B, just all kind of songs that just made me feel ratchet. So that's all I jammed this past weekend. There are some albums that I am excited about, like that D Smoke. I was a huge fan of his on Netflix's Rhythm and Flow. He did drop an EP. I kind of really wasn't feeling the EP, but based off of his performances and everything that he did on Rhythm and Flow, I'm still like excited and hyped about his actual album. So excited to get into that. Also excited to get into that Luke James that dropped the week before last. So I'm behind. I have a lot to catch up on, and hopefully I will be able to do that this week. But for now, we're going to take a break and get into music history with Rage Against the Machine.
Searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Music Podcast. I'm your host, Gaelika Brown. Now let's get into music history. Rage Against the Machine formed in Los Angeles in the early 1990s out of the wreckage of a number of local groups. Vocalist Zach De La Rocha, the son of Chicano political artist Robert De La Rocha, emerged from the bands Headstance, Farside, and Inside Out. Guitarist Tom Morello, the nephew of Jomo Kenyatta, the first Kenyan president, originated in Lockup. The drummer Brad Wilk played with future Pearl Jam frontman Eddie Vedder, rounded out by bassist Tom Bobb, aka Tim C., born Tim Comerford, a childhood friend of De La Rocha's. Rage debuted in 1992 with a self-released, self-titled 12-song cassette. Yes, cassette. I remember them days. Featuring the song Bullet in the Head, which became a hit when reissued as a single later in the year. The tape won the band a deal with Epic. Rage Against the Machine decided to align itself with the label's parent company, Sony. The quartet emerged in the late 1992 with their official debut, Rage Against the Machine, which scored the hits Killing in the Name and Bomb Track. After touring with Lollapalooza, Rage spent a reportedly hectic 4 years working on their follow-up. Despite rumors of a breakup, they returned in 1996 with Evil Empire, which entered the U.S. album charts at number 1 and scored a hit single with Bulls on Parade. During 1997, the group joined forces with hip-hop supergroup the Wu-Tang Clan for a summer tour and remained active in support of various leftist political causes, including a controversial 1999 benefit concert for death row inmate Mumia Abu-Jamal. My apologies if I mispronounced that. The Battle of Los Angeles followed later in 1999, also debuting at number 1 and going double platinum by the following summer. In early 2000, De La Roca announced plans for a solo project, and the band performed an incendiary show outside the Democratic National Convention in August. The following month, bassist Comerford was arrested for disorderly conduct at MTV's Video Music Award following his bizarre disruption of Limp Bizkit's acceptance speech, in which he climbed to the top of a 15-foot set piece and rocked back and forth. Plans for a live album were announced shortly thereafter, but in October, De La Roca abruptly announced his departure from the band, citing breakdowns in communication and the group's decision-making. Surprised but not angry, the remainder of Rage announced plans to continue with a new vocalist, while De La Roca refocused on his solo album. December 2000 saw the release of De La Roca's final studio effort with the band, Renegades. It featured nearly a dozen covers of hip-hop, rock, and punk artists like EPMD, Bruce Springsteen, Devo, the Rolling Stones, the MC5, and more. By 2001, Morello, Wilk, and Comerford had formed Audioslave with former Soundgarden frontman Chris Cornell, rest in peace, and the group released their first album in 2002. 2003 brought the long-anticipated Rage Against the Machine reunion. First, the band played the closing day of 2007's Coachella Festival. Then, in 2008, several other gigs followed, usually coinciding with major festivals in Europe and the US. No new studio work from Rage Against the Machine materialized, but De La Roca collaborated with former Mars Volta drummer John Theodore in a group called One Day as a Lion, who released an EP that year. The next burst of Rage activity came in 2009 when there was an internet campaign to get Killing in the Name to the top of the UK charts, all in the hopes of thwarting an X Factor winner from taking the pole position. The viral campaign worked, and Rage played a free celebratory concert in Finsbury Park in 2010. Despite all these gigs, including the summer 2011 appearance at LA Rising, a festival the band arranged, and word of a new album, no recordings appeared. In 2013, their debut album received a deluxe reissue, and then in 2010, Finsbury Park gig saw a CD-DVD release in 2015. The next year, Morello, Wilk, Comerford joined forces with Public Enemy's Chuck D and Cypress Hill's Be Real to form supergroup Prophets of Rage. This 2020, Rage Against the Machine will reunite for a global world tour. Now, instead of our usual Say What song lyric, I found an article on Spin entitled 35 Best Breakup Songs Ever. I thought it would be fun to go through since Valentine's Day is approaching. So this feature is Etta James' 1968, I'd Rather Be Blind. And Spin says, the country soul stroll of I'd Rather Go Blind initially lulls you, but the enormity of the sentiment soon takes over as the singer's controversial tone deepens and intensifies, implying that she's lost in a vast, inedible abyss. She'd rather stare into nothingness forever than glance at the pathetic tears on her face in the mirror. So let's review these lyrics. Something told me it was over when I saw you and her talking. Something deep down in my soul said, cry girl. When I saw you and that girl walking out, I would rather go blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me, child, and all. So you see, I love you so much that I don't want to watch you leave me, baby. Most of all, I just don't want to be free. No. I just was sitting here thinking of your kisses and your warm embrace. Yeah. When the reflection in a glass that I held to my lips, now baby, revealed the tears that was on my face. Yeah. And baby, I would rather be blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me. Yeah. Baby, I'd rather be blind now. Now, Etta sings the hell out of that song. I was unfamiliar with it until now, but it's something to add to one of my playlists. Obviously, it's not as popular as her At Last, but it's a great breakup song. It's actually so good that I wish it was longer. It's only 2 minutes and 35 seconds long, but you can catch her singing it live in 1975 on YouTube. Now, somehow she stretches out a sweaty, dramatic performance of that song to 8 minutes and 20 seconds. She does a lot of talking with the audience, a lot of going back and forth with the band. There's stretches where the band is just doing their thing, giving solo spots to the musicians. It's a fun performance. I mean, it's one thing to hear the song and to hear the pain and just to hear her belt out, her sadness. But it's another thing to watch Etta live. Like, that woman could perform. And I haven't really watched her live. I've heard her songs, but to sit there and watch her, like, she put on a show. So I would highly recommend going to YouTube and checking that out. You can hear the audience reaction as she belts out her lyrics and periodically talks to them. And I think you really get like the full depth of the song when you see that performance. So that's it. We are out of time, folks. I definitely appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Music Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. As always, if you liked what you heard, subscribe and leave a review. And until next time, I'm Gaelika Brown, the music lover constantly seeking positive music.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.